I think often when people start to talk about the future of housing, they're often driven by questions of technology. But if you actually look what's shaped housing in the past, it's often actually been more that housing reflects changes in the way we live.
So in terms of how housing has changed in the last decade, and again I'm talking specifically about apartments, I think there's three main factors. I think there's this factor of citizen-led development and a greater focus on owner-occupier apartments instead of investor apartments. So that's one big shift. There's been a greater focus on an increase in kind of minimum standards for apartments, and I think that's something that needs to continue to be implemented. And then thirdly, the idea of, that, and this is partly a COVID response as well, that people are wanting a higher amenity apartment. We've really shrunk and to our kind of realm to being more at home, and so when we're spending more time at home, we're wanting that space to be higher amenity and have more sustainable features as well.
We structured our event around these three components of the panel, workshops and exhibitions, partly because we didn't want to do just another design exhibition about housing, and in particular not just another architecture exhibition about housing. We really approached this topic with a desire to try and bring positive change to housing in Australia, and starting to think about housing models not just from a design perspective but also from a policy perspective, from a financial perspective and from a community perspective.
I think what makes Melbourne unique in terms of housing design is really the rise of more citizen-led housing models without government support. So these kind of citizen-led housing models do exist throughout the world. I'm thinking particularly about Baugruppe in Germany and elements like that, but in those countries they have a lot of government support, and in Melbourne we've had this incredible range of different models emerging, and I'm talking about Nightingale and property collectives, for example.
Look, I think the purpose of the exhibition is to take stock. We've got these disparate models with connections to one another and all these lineages I spoke about, but there is no forum currently that collects them in a central place, and that means that their ability to advocate to government and other stakeholders is fragmented at the moment. I think we're really interested in the kind of collective effort. We're really inspired by a movement in the Netherlands called Start in Denmark. Essentially, it's a group of sort of DIYers in the Netherlands of all sorts, people building whole neighbourhoods to small workshops that come together and talk about how they can sort of share ideas. I think we're really inspired by that. So the exhibition is perhaps less about display and more about the intent to sort of take stock of this group, this sort of innovation that we've seen over the last kind of 10 years or so, and understand what the next steps might be. And I don't think we're posing the answers. I think that's why the format is quite particular. So we're interested in the sort of, the exhibition is to envelop you, to give you the sense of the innovation and to be surrounded by these projects.